Hey everybody, Professor Snart a quick video check-in as we get right down towards the end of our course. Kind of a weird time of year if you ask me, and it almost always is. Our course feels like, it's kind of wrapping up. Things are moving pretty quickly. The final assignment is in your hands. There's really not a lot of other stuff that we're doing beyond working through that final research process, developing the topic, finding sources, putting the actual paper together. So we're kind of focused on that. And yet the weather makes it feel like we're just in this stasis, this never-ending deep freeze. So it feels, in one sense, like, I can look at the due dates right here, and I know that we're moving towards, March 3rd is the end of our course. That's really just a couple of weeks away. And yet this idea of like March and spring, it feels like it might as well be years away. So I always have to remind myself that even though this date, right, or a date like, oh yeah, I'll do that in the spring, feels like it's forever away, we're actually getting, quite close to the end of our course. Most people, have just kind of begun thinking about a topic and starting to develop some ideas for their essay. So I'm not expecting that you're, just around the corner from handing it in, but we are pretty focused on just that one final project. Okay, so I wanted to then look at or talk about, we've finished up with Unit 9, which was largely just assigning the final essay, so be sure that you are really understanding what that final assignment requires. And also, you remember that the assignment is there so that it's beneficial to maybe check back to remind yourself, like, what was the page requirement again? What sources did I need? What were the topic guidelines? All of that kind of stuff. So we have worked through this once, but maybe useful to revisit, as you continue to develop your essay. Okay, so you use this discussion board to propose a tentative topic. Again, very tentative, just a very early brainstorming opportunity. So if you proposed a topic that was more or less along the lines of kind of what's suggested here, and if you replied to 2 other posts, you probably got full credit. But I want to be really clear, that doesn't mean that your topic, as you proposed it, is like 2 thumbs up necessarily. So I'm not really grading the quality of the topic, because for many people you're just sort of throwing something out there and seeing, is this going to work? I'm just grading your participation in the discussion board, so you've at least thought of something along the lines of what's suggested by the topic guidelines here, and then you've done the replies to others. So you may have got full points here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that your topic, as you stated it, is where it needs to be. I'm kind of expecting that what'll happen is if there were questions I had, I would have responded in a little comment with the grade, but also that you're going to continue to refine your ideas about your topic, or really just the general topic itself, as we move through these next units. So what we have in Unit 10 coming up, which I think is really beneficial and something you might not have run into in other online courses, is we revisit the discussion board, kind of the same one, right? Where you'll continue to think about and refine your topic. So what you posted in Unit 9 could be substantially different by the time you post it here in Unit 10, because you've done some more thinking about your topic. Maybe it's totally different. Maybe you had it really well worked out in Unit 9, so this Unit 10 ends up being kind of the same. But for most people, Unit 9 is a very general, like, I think I might do this in this work and maybe find another one, but I'm not quite sure. So really kind of tentative. Whereas by Unit 10, you want to have a much clearer idea of what primary texts you want to cover, or just text from our course, how you want to structure the essay. Is it like a thematic approach? Is it a comparison between certain character relationships between 2 different texts, or whatever the case might be? So this is likely to be much more refined here in Unit 10. And then, of course, we're also throwing secondary sources into the mix as well. You don't have to necessarily know exactly how you're going to use those sources or where they're going to fit, but you've done some database research and you have some possibilities. Again, nothing's contractual exactly, but you have some possibilities. The other thing that I'll remind people of is just how damaging plagiarism can be. Clearly, you failed a course, part of your academic record, and And I've seen, every once in a while, I think people, not because they begin the course planning to cheat at the end, they just sort of get crunched for time and they get nervous and they know that there's a lot of points riding on this final paper, and they just make one bad decision. So one of the red flags for me is if I see a final essay that is totally different from both the Unit 9 topic, the Unit 10 topic, and just sort of at the last minute there's texts that we haven't read or a totally different approach or something that's just like out of left field, that's kind of a red flag for me. I will check that one. Another thing that I do, which I'll post a screenshot of, is I use a tool called Safeassign, which is built into Blackboard here. And it sort of runs your essay through a database of like everything on Google and what other essays have been submitted to the database, not just from COD or by me, but like everybody who uses Safeassign. So it compares your essay to all of that other stuff. And again, it'll flag things that show up on websites or have been used in other papers. And so I obviously look at that as a human, right? I check it out. But plagiarism, for as easy as it is to find stuff on the student side, you Google death of a salesman or whatever, it's just as easy on my side. So I really want to, again, warn people against that. It's never a good choice. The consequences are so severe, and especially now you've done all this work throughout, all of the other units that we've done, to have it basically all for naught by that one bad choice. Again, really not worth it. So be sure you're making good decisions. And part of it, truthfully, is, again, forcing yourself to work through and keep up on the Unit 9, thinking about your topic, doing the draft. So you're not looking at that final due date, down here. So it's not Monday, March 2nd. And because you really haven't kept the ball rolling through these earlier due dates, all of a sudden you sort of have nothing done, and then it's crunch time and there's a lot of points, and then, one bad choice. So let's be really careful about that. Okay. So the other thing, though, to go back to what I was supposed to be talking about, that's happening in Unit 10, the big thing for us, is a series of student conferences. So you have the opportunity to meet with me, just a quick kind of 10 minutes. We can do it virtually via Skype or this other software called Adobe Connect. I can look at your screen, so the more you have of the essay written on the page, as it were, the better it is, because I can actually look at it and talk about ideas or maybe changes you want to make, look at the works cited, anything like that. You can, if you're on campus anyway, we can meet face-to-face. And you'll notice that if you click yourself in, there's days that have been blocked off, and then, of course, times during that day. And you can just come into the wiki here or the sign-up page. If you do the edit button, you can add your name to whatever time slot happens to be open. You'll see a couple of folks from our class have already signed up. So that means that you've got to get in there and do this. You can't contact me on Thursday and say, oh, I just looked at the thing and all the days are passed, can I meet? Well, we can probably meet, but you're not going to get credit for having done this part of it. So you can't wait until like the last minute and then hope that we can schedule something when in fact these appointments are like open as I'm looking at them, if that makes sense. And again, it's a great opportunity. The more you have of that essay done and put together, we look at it, I can almost like pre-grade it for you, not in the sense that I assign a letter grade, but we can talk about things that are really working and things that need your attention before you're submitting it for that official grade. So it's a really great opportunity, but as with so much of what we do, it's one that's sort of incumbent on you to take advantage of. So you'll notice that Unit 10 has these two different due dates, one for the discussion board, kind of a traditional, Tuesday due date for us. But then, of course, we also have a series of days that'll be that individual conference, virtual or physical, whichever is more convenient for you. And then, after that, pretty much it, right? You have the opportunity to make some final revisions, and then you're submitting your final paper. So as we move through these last few things, you're always kind of looking towards that Tuesday date, and maybe even looking towards your specific conference date to set yourself the goal of having as much of the essay done as possible, maybe the whole thing. Even if it's really rough, that's okay. At least you have that rough draft that we can look at. Okay, so once again, as always, time management, a big deal. Spring, I wish. Particularly as we get to the end here, be sure that if you have questions, concerns, especially if I made a comment about your topic, maybe suggestions, or if I needed clarification, you really want to follow up with me so that you can be confident about your topic and then move forward with the research, putting an outline together, and then beginning to put a draft together. All right, so be in touch with me, and I will talk with everybody soon.